Now have Luciana and perhaps one of the speakers that have already spoken maybe switch in. Thank you.
I think we have a presentation, yeah? Oh. So, yeah, good afternoon. My name is Luciana. I'm Brazilian, like some of us here. And I live in the Netherlands, where I do research about the neocolonialism of scaling up rubber production for fashion in the Amazon. So I'd like to thank you, Nicole, and also the university, Erasmus University, for this. So I am in a research field called Social Studies of Technology. I am doing 2 PhDs in Brazil in production engineering and there in the Netherlands in development studies. So this is a hybrid field. And I'm going to talk about, briefly, some challenges, some rubber materials that we have right here. We call it social technologies. They are developed by indigenous people and rubber tappers. We call this as the vegetal leather, and this is a smoked liquid sheet. Also, this is a vegetal leather. So some companies were developing this, not only their local communities. Let me show you. This research takes place in Acre, that is in the border of Peru and Bolivia. And I went to the Amazon and also went to Acre and also to Amazonas to check, see how things were being done there, despite the narratives of the companies. So looking at the rural farmers and the indigenous peoples, we can see this type of place, and some challenges that all type of business face there are, of course, communication. There's no electricity and internet in many parts. Time, it's a different perception of time. Also, the logistics, because once you solve the problem of logistics, we don't have forests anymore. And scale, how you can scale your business, how can you scale your technology. So as I showed, these are the social technologies. It's called as encauchados, comes from the name of a tree, Castilla ulei. And it's the crying wood. It's because of the latex, and how it cries, how it falls on the tree. So this is an encauchado, and we call also as a vegetal leather. It's a layer of canvas with many layers of rubber. And they were also mixing with some other materials that we can find in the forest. Okay, so they were there, the indigenous people and rural farmers were there doing this. And some companies started to trade, to buy or to send some products for them to add some layers of rubber. And I'm going to show 2 of them. I'm going to study 2 to 3 of them. This is so for you to have an idea of what is a traditional technology. This is the native rubber tree. They are always spread in the Amazon. That's the difference with Thailand and Malaysia. We don't have monoculture in that area. So you have the latex and the traditional technology. People just leave latex there and collect, and we call it pressed virgin rubber. So the 3 materials that I'm looking at 2 is vegetal leather, the liquid smoked sheet, and the pressed virgin rubber. They're all interconnected, these case studies. I'm calling these 3 sociotechnical systems. And the first material was used to a very well-known French brand, luxury brand. In these bags, and the other 2, they are used in the soles of a shoe that is very popular, and they claim themselves as sustainable, and they are indeed until a certain extent. I am very interested in the part that they are not. So the price is, the bag you could find for, like 2,000 to 3,000 euro. This is one second-hand bag, 1,500, and the shoes until like 200 euro. So my research question is, what happens when we scale up the native rubber production in the Amazon rainforest and we connect this to fashion? I'm going to skip the methodology. I found this, I said, I need to focus, what am I going to talk about? So they claim that they would avoid deforestation. This is their main motto, main motivation. But indeed, in this area that I am researching, deforestation is increasing. And how can you, communicate about this? Okay, so what does it mean that your material comes from the Amazon? It doesn't avoid deforestation. Indeed, some of the rubber tappers are raising more cattle than before. I started to look into some controversies. For instance, three, rubber tappers protects the forest. That's what they write in the projects. That's what we see in the literature. But they basically, nowadays, they run half of a marathon to collect the latex to produce this type of material that now they are not producing anymore. That's my research. They are now back to the old technology, the traditional one. And they have other profits that they can extract nuts, the Brazilian nuts, acai, other fruit, raise cattle, and just cut the trees and sell wood. We can have a mass production of vegetal leather in the forest. Not really. Well, there was a businesswoman, and I'm putting as white because we're dealing with other communities that are not white, could not domesticate, train the minds and bodies of different indigenous peoples, at least three types of indigenous people, to do the same process in the same way. So, and rubber tappers who? Because they write this in the projects to get funds, from the Amazon funds, for instance, but only 6% of themselves identify themselves with rubber, So they are rural farmers, that's how they call themselves. I used some concepts to understand, like, social shaping of technology, also a concept that is very deep related to that field, to that area, Acre, that is seringality, seringalidade in Portuguese. It means that, we are looking at a specific type of neocolonialism related to the Aveas brasilienses, the native rubber tree, of this alternative rubber production, and related to, sustainable development, all in the sake of sustainable development. And also because those are value chains of fashion and product design, that's also a transversal concept that I need to consider. So it's interesting that they are interconnected because the businesswoman of this company, the first one who was selling to this French luxury brand, she later became the manager of the other company, the shoes company, the French shoes company. And also, she had a certain network in that area, which makes the story very interesting, how she created that networking. They tried, as I said, they tried to train minds and bodies of Kaxinawas, Yawanawas, and Xanenawas, who are completely different. They had investment of the Brazilian bank, the first case, and then, the NGOs got funds from the Amazon Fund. So here, just for you to have an idea, an overview of how is the production system, of how you add latex, and you just have this production there. They had 40 units in the forest, which is a lot. They had like almost 200 people working on this. So to create all this in the middle of nothing, with no roads, it's quite. It's something that we should celebrate. And indeed, she won many awards, but no one goes there to check exactly what is happening. So, okay, so what happened with this bag that is so expensive, so fancy, is that along 5 years, the consumers were returning it to the store, especially in Japan, who they care very much about the quality of the product. And this is something that happens in design all the time. I'm a product designer, by the way. The life cycle of a product, the test usability, along the life cycle of a product is in the hands of the user, because the company just needs to sell something and get rid of it. So the consumer will discover what happens with these new biomaterials, for instance. You can think about seaweeds and other things. And the consumers were buying this not because it was sustainable, but because it is exotic, it has a soft touch, talks about indigenous people. Okay, so then the liquid smoked sheet, that is this one, it's kind of producing pasta. Indeed, the mechanisms, the equipments, that they use were quite similar. A calendar, to pass the rubber, and then you put this to dry like clothes. It's very labor intensive, and that's why, like, you need the woman also to work together. She just helps the husband. Is not seen as a work, so we have a gender issue here. And they decided that it was becoming too expensive, so why not downgrade, you know, the technology, come back to what we were doing before. Why I'm going to invest in technology? So yeah, it's all about price. So yeah, coming to an end, so I have 6 topics to cover here, and we're finishing. So the technology, okay, what we can say is that, firstly, they patent the social technologies of the indigenous people. They improve it, and then they got a patent, and were selling this to other companies in Brazil and the world, like this one in France. There's a dependence on chemicals developed by a university. So how can you get these materials on time, to the forest? So we had this setup. Lack of materials and equipments. Also, we do not, the projects do not consider the maintenance of it in the long term. The projects, we are driven very much by the paradigm of new products, new materials, new objects, new technologies. And that's why we don't write projects for maintenance of other previous projects. When I say we, I'm assuming the positionality of NGOs and enterprises, not me as a researcher. So also the project, there's many difficulties to keep the quality standards. It varies a lot. And the workers, they were receiving payments inferior to if they made any mistake. So it's their problem. It's not the problem of the company. So then the partnerships, the NGOs are a key actor on it, and indeed they have a good intention. They are very much tech-oriented, so they believe if they add more technology in the forest, it will improve, or it will become a more competitive project to gain the funds. Anyways, and they made this partnership also with the company because I need to have a buyer. So then I have a situation of a monopoly, because who wants to go there to the middle of nowhere and pay extra for logistics and everything else? Okay, and also the government plays a key role, because the government delays the payment of the subsidies. So then we have a struggle. All right, coming to the social organization. Now the story becomes, in my opinion, more interesting, because this woman, she became the godmother of many children. That's how she created the network. She also gave some illegal gifts to indigenous people. First of all, we understand that indigenous people, they are poor, and they need to work. They need to improve. We need to improve their material conditions. But this is a perception from the companies and from the states. We raise their spirituality. For instance, they drink ayahuasca, they drink their medicine to have visions on how to work. So the companies just erase this cosmovision, and you understand everyone as equal, and they are not. And of course, many of them, as I interviewed, they don't know how to even write their own names. So how we are going to negotiate prices with people who don't even know how to write their names? Not sure if this is that fair trade, as they claim. And the work process, as I said, the woman is helping, so we have a gender division. It's not my focus of analysis, but I'm just pointing this. The NGO complains that there is no technical assistance, and And the company says that this should be a problem, yeah, of the NGO, because the company just gets the partnership, just established a partnership with the cooperatives. So the company is not responsible at the end for the workers. And they only do one meeting per year to organize, to make everyone, all the rubber tappers, the rural farmers, understand what they need to do, how much they need to produce. Okay, and precarious work conditions. So coming to an end, because they are connected to fashion, and fashion, if it is a really good fashion, it's going to pass. So we deal with a short cycle of products. So how these people, they do believe that that type of technology or that type of fashion product is going to last. Yeah, we need to invest. Yeah, it's not a startup. Yeah, it is doing business in the middle of the forest. So this logic doesn't make sense, but somehow we're applying this logic there. And yeah, less than 10% of the rubber in the case of that shoes are made with native rubber from the Amazon. All the rest is conventional rubber, but when you read the sole, it's there, yeah, rubber from the Amazon. As they said, 90% of the consumers just buy because it's fashion, it's trendy, it's not because it is sustainable. And they call themselves as vegan shoes. Well, so also we have some social contracts. There is a certain faith that technology will save the forest, will avoid deforestation. It can slow down, but it's not enough. And in my case, in the second to the third case, it is a problem. Technology becomes a problem. They just want to get rid of it because they don't want to pay enough. They don't want to engage the community. And yeah, so also we have this faith that the Amazon just works, yeah, in the long term. So let's invest on it, keep the faith, and that Brazil will happen in the long term. Coming to a conclusion, yeah, I wanted to unpack this idea of sustainable development in the Amazon by looking at native rubber production for fashion, and I highlighted some controversies that I call that they are neo-colonial practices. And we need more investments in the Amazon for sure. Not saying that we should not do anything and just leave it. And I believe that we should have more short-term projects with more design and maybe a different idea of technology that would love to explore in a different moment. So thank you very much for your attention. Yeah, so here's my contact.
Thank you very much for that, Luciana. Can we go directly to Kolya, for CEO of Clean Carbon Technology?